And joining us now to discuss the government shutdown is Javier Palomarez, founder and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Business Council, and Rod D. Martin, founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Good to have you both with us today. Javier, let's begin with you. Are businesses feeling the shutdown yet?
Absolutely. The panic is widespread. You're looking at Republicans want a clean CR with no changes to the current funding. The meantime, Democrats are asking to extend the healthcare tax credits. Shutdowns are impactful no matter how you look at them. And as of now, it looks like both sides are blaming each other. Now, the past shutdowns, one lasted, I believe, 3 hours, and one shutdown lasted 31 days. But with neither side budging, and I've spoken to members on both sides of the aisle, and nobody's budging, it's hard to tell where this one's going to go. So we're very worried from a business perspective.
And not only that, but it looks like, Rod, we may be seeing layoffs as well from the federal government. We're also looking at forecasts for cutting spending. So just in terms of those two aspects, what impact could that have on the economy, short and long term, Rod?
Yes, that's exactly where this is going if the minority party in both houses doesn't act reasonably. Where we are, as was just stated, is a clean continuing resolution. We're not asking for any policy changes. We're not trying to ram anything down the Democrats' throats. We're just trying to buy a few weeks to be able to negotiate these bills through regular order. The law requires that we pass 13 appropriations bills on specific subject matter each every year. And we haven't done that in decades. So Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune are trying to do that. They're just asking for a little more time to get there. Meanwhile, the Democrats are trying to ram their policy positions down our throats, even though they're in the minority. And those are crazy positions. The president has done a great job of showing. This is $1 trillion of borrowed money they're asking for to give welfare to illegal aliens. That is absurd. And what that means is that in the long run, the grandchildren of legal immigrants are going to have to pay for it. It's just crazy.
Now, Javier, on this point of the differing accounts of the cause, how do your constituents, Hispanic business people here in the U.S., see the conflict and the cause?
It runs the gamut. Certainly, as business people, we're all about a balanced budget. Certainly, we're all about keeping the government open. There's no question. On the other hand, we're hearing from other members and some of my constituents that the continuing healthcare credits are incredibly important. Some 22 million families are at risk of having their healthcare costs go up by hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. So it's a legitimate concern. What we're hoping for at the United States Hispanic Business Council is, look, one step at a time. Let's get the CR done. Let's fund the government. Let's get back up into business and then take on the tax credits. But again, the fear amongst Democrats is that if we give you this, then you're not going to deliver on the tax credits. And at that point, the one card we had has been taken. At the end of the day, the Republicans will still need 7 Democrats to vote with them to get this thing done. So whatever happens, it's time for some diplomacy, for some candid conversation, some give and some take from both sides of the aisle. Look, we're not politicians. We're the ones that keep the lights on. We're the ones that create the jobs. We're the one that pays the taxes. We don't get paid for political opinion. We get stuff done, and we need both of these parties for both ends of the political spectrum to come together, find a solution, and move forward. That's why we put them in office.
Now, Rod, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and others are warning that the shutdown could impact GDP. How could that impact working America?
Well, it's bad for everybody. We shouldn't be shutting down the government, especially when we can continue it in exactly the way that Congress already authorized previously, and just buy a little time to talk about these things. And we're talking about these ACA credits. Those things need to be discussed. We need to have a reasonable discussion about that, and we can do that in regular order. We can't do it at the point of a gun. So the GDP that is really going to be affected by this is if Chuck Schumer wants to continue the shutdown unreasonably, what's going to happen is the president and Kevin Hassett and Russ Vought are going to start laying off huge numbers of federal workers. We're going to get rid of them because, frankly, a lot of them need to go. And if they want it done this way, fine, we'll do it this way. It would be better to do this through legislation, but we can do it this way. The president has the authority to determine who is essential and who is not. So the GDP effect is going to be harshest in Northern Virginia. And Virginia's 2 Democrat senators need to figure out a way to come to a reasonable position so that we can have those extra weeks for debate and do this in good order instead of doing it single party. The president may not be able to end the shutdown, but he has a very big hammer.
All right, taking a step back now from laborers to the business perspective, Javier, in the case of a prolonged shutdown, what do you advise businesses to do to manage and adapt?
For businesses as usual, small businesses, we're left holding the bag. We don't get a say in this. What we are advising all of our members is, be very careful with your spending. It's a compounded effect on the small business community. Keep in mind tariffs are top of mind as well. That has impacted our ability to purchase inventories. You've got holiday season coming. We don't have the purchasing power or the muscle that some of the huge retailers do. So we can't get any kind of discounts on inventory. We can't even pre-purchase inventory in many cases. And so we're watching that very carefully. You've got supply chain challenges that follow on the heels of that. And so for us, this is very serious. And it may mean that some of our businesses will have to shutter and or at a minimum lay people off. Look, at the end of the day, it's going to take 5 people to sit down and figure this out. It's going to take Schumer, Jeffries, Thune, Johnson, and the president to sit down, hammer this thing out on behalf of the American people and certainly on behalf of the American economy. It's a difficult issue, I'll give you that, but they're there to do difficult things.
Now, Rod, taking another tack, as an investment advisor, how do you suggest people with substantial assets and those with fewer resources prepare for the unknown in the economy at this time?
Well, I think everything Javier just said is correct, and we do have some real and meaningful problems. On the other hand, the longest shutdown in American history was 35 days. So my guess is we get to a resolution in a reasonable amount of time. I don't think people need to panic. I do think they need to take reasonable precautions. From an investment perspective, once this is done, I expect a boom all through this next year. We are in a supply side boom. We're seeing tremendous investment in manufacturing from inside the United States and from overseas. We're seeing tremendously positive things. Employment is a lagging indicator on all of that. We're certainly not seeing the inflation that was predicted, certainly not stagflation that some were predicting. I think we're in a bull market going forward once we get past this short-term disruption.
And lastly, Javier, as an advocacy group, what's the U.S. Hispanic Business Council's message to lawmakers? I've heard you urging bipartisan discussion here. If you can dig a little deeper on that and let us know what you think.
Again, I'm speaking to members on both sides. On the one hand, Thune himself said, this is going to be difficult. He doesn't see the light yet at the end of the tunnel. Speaker Johnson is blaming the Democrats. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans. More of the same. As I said, it's going to take those 5 individuals: Schumer, Jeffries, Thune, Johnson, and President Trump. Listen, having dealt with President Trump before, I'm a Democrat, but this will not last that long. Donald Trump will bring this thing to an end, and he may have to crack some eggs to get that omelet done. But he's the kind of guy that will do it. So from a business perspective, I'm kind of relying on him to bring this thing to an end. And I couldn't agree more with Russ. I mean, the economic situation is looking pretty good. We're seeing tariffs obviously having an impact, but what we have seen in terms of the tariffs that have been the deals that have been struck, like the EU deal, that was a boon for the American small business community. So we're hopeful that we can get back to that. You've got USMCA coming around the corner. It's due to start getting renegotiated in 2026. That's with our two biggest trade partners, Mexico and Canada. We need to get onto the business of that and stop with the politics here. But at the end of the day, I don't think Donald Trump has 31 days at him. I don't think he has 31 more hours. The reality of it is, I think he will put his foot down and he'll get this thing done.
All right, good to speak with you both. Javier Palomarez, Rod Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.